It's the SeizeYourBusiness.com podcast with Tony Rourke and Kevin O'Flaherty.
SeizeYourBusiness.com, making you money. Share it on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn, Twitter, our blogs, YouTube videos. Listen to our podcast, getting so hot that it's burning up the stereo.
Welcome to the SeizeYourBusiness.com podcast, coming to you from our speakeasy in lovely downtown Downers Grove, Illinois. Our guest today is Laura Crawford from Chamber630. Our hosts are Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law and myself, Tony Rourke from ADR Business Resource Group. If you find the podcast helpful or if you want to help us out, we would appreciate it if you would review us on iTunes or share our podcast on social media. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Kevin.
Thanks, Tony. So our topic today, Laura, is going to be obstacles that businesses face in doing business. Why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about what Chamber630 is and what you do for Chamber630 and your experience in the business world.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
Chamber630 was formerly Downers Grove Area Chamber of Commerce and Woodridge Area Chamber of Commerce. We merged in July 1, and the idea was to increase efficiencies, and the whole premise of the merge was that this is good for business. And so we merged July 1, and we came up with the name of Chamber630 because as we examined the combined membership, it displayed that these were businesses that wanted to do business specifically within the 630 area code. And we know that there's already 331 and other area codes that are going to be introduced, but we felt that 630 was pretty solid, similar to the 312. Area code, and it's identifiable, and maybe someday we'll be 360, who knows. But we are in 47 different municipalities, 9 counties, and actually even 2 states. But predominantly it's Downers Grove and Woodridge and Lisle, Lombard, just the general area. Want to do business here with businesses primarily in Downers Grove and Woodridge.
And you're the executive director for the chambers that you're
Well, they tell me I'm president and CEO.
President and CEO.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be whatever they call me.
How long have you been working with the chamber?
8 years.
Okay.
I've been with this chamber. Yeah.
What were you doing before that?
Prior, I was senior vice president at the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce, and I was recruited to Downers Grove. And I did that for a little over 7 years as well.
Okay. So what makes the Chamber630 different from other chambers in the area?
Well, certainly, with the merge, the resources that are available, the efficiencies, we had a lot of overlap in members. And so now we have members that are just paying one membership due. We had members that were going to 2 or 3 different golf outings, for instance, which of course is on the top of my mind considering we have one on Monday. And now they can have the same exposure by just going to one golf outing. That's a small example. But I think what really sets us apart is that our goal is to provide, or I should say our mission is to provide and protect economic opportunities of our membership. And there's a lot of chambers that don't get involved in the legislative arena. So I do think that sets us apart. I think that's the sleeping giant of our Chamber of Commerce. Business people, as you know, are very busy taking care of their business, as they should be. And I think it's good to know that there's someone fighting the fight for them at every level, legislative level.
And that's something that most people don't think about when they think about chambers. They think it's a good place to network and meet other business owners. What is the legislative process like from the chamber's perspective? What do you guys do as a chamber to protect business owners' interests?
Well, first of all, we do have a platform, and those are business issues that have been brought up by our members, and we also have a test of relevance. And so for us to address an issue, it has to be brought to us by a member or an issue that's already been brought to our attention at the platform level. The platform is approved by the board of directors every year. So that allows me to react to a proposal or a bill instead of showing the bill or educating the legislative team and then having them make a recommendation to the board of directors. And by then, there's no doubt the bill is either dead or it's moving forward.
When you say board of directors, what I've noticed about this chamber is that most of the people that I see actually moving about and doing business in the community and being really active are also on the chamber board. It's a pretty big board, right?
Well, it is now, especially with the merge. But I would have to say most of our community leaders have been on the board at one time or are still on the board.
How many members are on a board?
Today, about 30.
That is a big board.
It's really big. But we kept the boards of both Woodridge and Downers Grove, and we combined them for the year. Now, a lot of them will roll off because there are 3-year terms.
Okay.
So come October 1, which is our fiscal year, the start of our fiscal year, we will be bringing new board members on, but so many will be rolling off, and they are eligible to reapply if they choose.
And how does one become a member of the chamber board? Because, we talk about being active a lot in the chamber. It's not good enough to be a member of the chamber. You got to be active to get any benefit from it. Seems like that's a great way to be active.
Oh, we work for you 24/7.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of benefits other than just being active. But, paying, I'm sure from your perspective, it's great to have people that, pay chamber dues, period. But as a business owner, if I'm paying my chamber dues and not taking part in the chamber activities,
you have to see the ROI. Absolutely.
There's not a great return on investment there. So if I wanted to become a member of the chamber board, what would do I need to be asked by someone that's on the board?
No. We actually advertise board nominations, and applications are available to any member that's in good standing.
Okay.
There's a nomination committee that actually is on the executive board agenda for next week. So we'll put together the nomination committee. Traditionally, it has been 1 or 2 members of the board, as well as one committee, the chairman of all the different committees and groups and referral groups and all, representing that. The kicker is that they have to be available for 2 half-day sessions of interviews.
Okay.
So any member is eligible, and we encourage anyone to. You'll be seeing publicity about it coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that I think you guys do really well, not necessarily as opposed to other chambers, but something that excites me about Chamber 630 is that if I'm a morning person, a lunch person, or an evening person, there's an event that I can attend regularly. You guys have your regular general membership luncheons. You have a lot of specialty luncheons that you do. There's leads groups that meet in the morning. There's cocktail hours every week. So
ribbon cutting.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how far down the rabbit hole you can afford to go. But there's something for everybody, it seems like, with your chamber. And not every chamber is like that. Some chambers, it seems like, just have a lunch once a month, and that's about all they have going on, and a couple of main events. But it seems like you've got a really vibrant business life going on in the chamber.
We have about 310 opportunities for businesses a year. For businesses to get in front of other businesses. Literally
more than one per business day.
Exactly. There's 220 business days in the year. So absolutely, more than one.
That's a good chamber to be a part of.
We are active.
And I'll tell you that, I'm a member of a couple other chambers too. Not necessarily very active in all of them, but from what I've heard about people talking about which chambers are good to be a part of, there's some that are very elitist and cliquey. There's some that don't have a lot going on. They're really small. Chamber 630 seems to be a good blend where, you've got enough action and enough people that are part of it. But from my experience, it was everyone welcomed me with open arms and didn't, it wasn't like I had to worm my way into the correct clique.
Right. So. I could not agree more. I felt the same way when I came here. Coming from Naperville, which has kind of their own persona, and I was just amazed. And it was such a pleasure, and it was so refreshing. And over the years, I've tried to analyze it, and I don't know what the answer is, other than people are really, really nice, and they're open to do business. They want to do business, so they do it.
Go ahead, Don.
How many members are part of the chamber?
700.
700. That's a nice big round number.
700.
So, Laura, we had a meeting together this morning, and one of the things that you brought up was you were surprised that some people that you meet a lot of people, and some people don't have their elevator speech very polished.
Yeah.
What are the elements of a good? How do you build a good elevator speech from someone who hears a lot of them?
I don't know. Someone who's listened to these seminars a lot over the course of the years, and that's the best part about working for a chamber is that you have a tremendous brain tank. 700 members, and it's I think it's about 200,000 employees. So those people are available to me, which is great, to teach not only myself but our other businesses their expertises. I would say a good elevator speech is something that, well, first of all, clearly defines what your business is, something that sets you apart, something you may do a little bit differently and than the rest of the folks, and keep it inside of 30 seconds. 20 is better.
The thing that I see that a lot of people missing is the thing that sets them apart. A lot of people are pretty good at saying what they do. Sometimes it's a little too general, but not many people key in on why they're different from everyone else that does that particular career. So that's tough to find. That's, finding what your business is, finding your message. So that's beyond an elevator speech. That's marketing in general.
Yeah, and that takes some. I mean, let's face it. That one little sentence, can take hours to craft. I mean, and fine tune. It's just ridiculous. But it's useful work. But it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Tony, did you actually sit down and craft yours, or did you just go out and start saying yours and start refining it as you went along?
I'm off the fly. I just fly off the cuff and whatever I'm feeling. I need to get it done, but I'll wait till I get back to summer.
Yeah, I've never been intentional about creating an elevator speech. But if you get in front of enough people and you have to say it enough times, you think, oh man, I should have said this. And then the next time you tweak it a little bit, and that's probably the best way to do it.
And I only know about how long it takes because it's an ongoing process for me. I'm trying to, I'm never satisfied. It's like I'll change a word, add a word. It's one of these days I'll get to a point where I'm like, but
then you'll change your business a little bit and tweak it. So then your elevator speech has to change too.
Thanks, Laura. I
and I think that's important to know. It'll evolve. It'll continue to evolve, and you should always be working on that elevator speech.
Well, and one more thing, and we can move on from elevator speeches. In my opinion, I think it's better, rather than spending an hour crafting one and reciting it, it's better just to know generally what you want to say about your business and say it in a personable way. Yes. If it comes off as canned and recited, you're not making the connection with the people that.
But I think you have to have it canned. You have to create a canned version first. And then once you get that to a point where you're happy, then you can take off your own cufflinks or handcuffs and say, okay, now that I have it memorized, then you can personalize it as you go for each person that you end up talking to.
So and I agree with you. I think you better know what you want to say. You don't want to be rambling. Yeah.
Well, you should check your ROI on the elevator speech too. Yeah. See what people's reactions are. Are you getting a call from them?
Do you see people's eyes glazing over when you're talking?
That's right. or the other one, when somebody just start talking, you want to, and this happens at these networking events, when somebody starts talking and then after a while you just want to run.
Yeah. And you're backing up.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our topic, and you wanted to talk about some of the obstacles that you've seen or complaints that you've gotten from business owners.
Well, I'm often asked, what are the biggest obstacles that business faces these days? And, I would love to say, well, we're not in the state of Illinois, but we are. But generally speaking, what I hear is healthcare. Workers' comp is always way, way at the top, and then our workforce. And, Chamber630 has a tremendous program called Attainable Futures that addresses our future workforce. Actually, they're graduating, for lack of a better word, or we will be recognized at a luncheon tomorrow after spending 4 to 5 half-day sessions at businesses. And they're taught anything from how to shake someone's hand and look them in the eye, what side of your coat do you wear the name tag on, how to do interviews, how to create applications. They're sophomores in high school, predominantly, some juniors, but how to do applications online, how to look for those keywords, how to use keywords, how to look for the trick questions. So they're taught a whole gamut of things, preparing them to get into the workforce. And what I love about the program is that some of them come back after graduating and they go to work for chamber members and they become active in the program again.
Oh, cool.
So it's a very, very cool program.
So when you say people have complaints about the workforce, is it they're not able to find people, or when they hire people, they turn out to be disappointing, or a combination
I
of
think
both?
a little bit of both. I think, we now have, depending on who you talk to, between 5 and 7 generations working in the workforce. So, and everyone has all that different language going on, whether it's the body language, the verbal language, or just how their work ethic, the language of their work ethic is. And some people think that you're late if you don't show up 15 minutes before you're supposed to. And, some people think, well, there's nothing wrong with showing up 20 minutes late for work.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a small example.
I've had trouble with both ends of that equation, finding people. And then once I've thought I've got a great person, after the bloom is off the rose, they turn out to have critical flaws. And finding people, I've talked to other business owners. I'm looking for business development people right now, and I hear about how there's no jobs in this economy, and there's everyone's looking for work. But when I'm actually looking to fill a position, I'm having real trouble finding qualified applicants, and that's a real struggle. I hate giving a problem without giving a solution. We've checked out a website called Indeed.com. It's basically pay per click for people who submit resumes. You pay X amount and you can bid on it. So it's almost like Google AdWords, but for finding talent. And you can set a budget on that. So I'll let you guys know how that works out. We just did that, and we got a lot of resumes from it. We'll see if they're any good. And then, once we get the people in, we've had a lot of turnover at our firm over the past 4 years. And, it's been mostly not people quitting, but people that just aren't performing to the standards that we want them to perform to. And we don't find that out until we've invested, 6 months into training them. Have you noticed that problem?
I have. We have also a business development position open only for expansion purposes, not replacing anyone. But it's very, very difficult to get someone in and to spend the time onboarding, which we discussed this morning, and to have someone 6 weeks later say, oh, I don't know if this is for me. I think I'm going to go work part-time, or whatever the case is. I'm always surprised by that.
Yeah.
But
Chuck Zimmerman, I'm not sure if you've met Chuck.
I know Chuck very well. Yeah.
He was a previous guest, and Sandler Training Centers actually, who he works with, actually will do a test for employees, and they, as a business owner, you pay them to kind of vet your potential candidates. And if I keep having trouble with my business development, I'm going to be talking to Chuck, because that's that might, I've never tried that, but that might be one way to make sure that people don't come off great in an interview and then turn out to be different than the person you hired.
Yeah, I love corporate strategies and solutions. I think I have gone through every single course that they've ever had, at least once, and some of them twice. So I'm a firm believer in whatever they do, and I know Chuck and I have talked about that same element. And also, I have had one person, Howard Kalecki. Howard.
I've heard his name, but I don't.
He's got a program that is very systematic, and it's right on. It'll tell you actually what that employee will have to work on if you hire them to achieve what your expectations are. And I thought, well, I'll try it. I have nothing to lose. I'll try this. And oh my goodness.
So you had a good experience with that?
I had a great experience with it. And the items that were identified as something to work on were spot on, inapplicable to the job, which is why the person was hired. But don't ask them to do Excel spreadsheets. That's for sure. So, there's a couple good tools out there, and I would lean on either one of those.
Well, and the balance you got to strike in your head is whether you want to pay up front to vet somebody, or say, well, I'm going to hire somebody based on intuition or a set of questions, and then invest that time training them and lose them and try again. It's and I'm not sure which is the right answer there. It's it's bad enough to have to take on overhead to pay an employee, but to take on overhead to make sure that the employee is actually who they say they are that's a tough
and doing
decision.
What they say they'll do.
That's the key.
So workers' comp, what's the issue there?
That's going to be a good one.
Well, again, we're in the state of Illinois, so there's a lot of issues, and I receive Capitol facts every day, and I'm amazed at what's going on at the Capitol right now. Absolutely amazed at the games that are being played. It doesn't surprise me, but I don't know how it's going on. They've got these, secret meetings and appear agreeable initially, and then turn around and something else is going to happen. So we are one of the highest states that has workers' comp. And we had down in Springfield, there was the Democratic caucus held a meeting, and the Republican caucus heard about it and were allowed to attend, and they requested if they could bring in businesses, and they were allowed. And from what I hear, it was a couple hours of testimony from people, families and workers who had been on workers' comp as far away from as Oklahoma. And they were testifying how they could not do without these funds. And to back up, the meeting was opened up with, we will never forget our workers of the state of Illinois, and you will always be taken care of type of verbiage. And, so that's not very bipartisan.
No.
And I think there's a solution. It just has to, they just have to give. Nothing that happens in the state of Illinois coming up will be anything less than painful. And we're in a bad situation. Yes, we're in a horrible situation.
And it's been many, many, many years in the making.
Yes, it is. It is. And I don't want to sound partisan. The chamber is nonpartisan, but the governor that we have now has been in office, I don't know how many days? Not too many.
No.
So it's not his fault.
Sure is being portrayed as his, though.
I know.
It's very interesting.
I know. There's a lot of other people there that you could point fingers at on both sides of the aisle.
Okay. I'm not going to say it. A name just ripped out of my mouth on purpose, but I won't.
Don't water this down, Tony. You're moving to South Carolina soon anyway.
Yeah,
Who cares?
that Madigan guy. Yeah, we gotta.
Governor Madigan, you mean?
Yeah. Something needs to. I don't know what it is about him. He needs to be reeled in. That's the word. And you're right. I'm moving to Somerville. I can say whatever I want.
Well, if you disappear before you move to South Carolina, I don't know what happened.
Come find me. I'll be in a river.
We'll look in his district.
Laura, I got a question for you. Some of the issues that you said that are out there, what kind of specific issues do you hear from the small business owners, like the ones right here in downtown, Downers Grove? Is there a common issue that you hear? Do they talk about the workman comp stuff and all that? Are they the same?
It depends. It does depend on who you talk to. There's a lot of definitions of small.
Mm-hmm.
I think the state of Illinois is 200 employees or under. In my mind, I think it's more like 10 or under.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the businesses around here, especially over in Ellsworth Park, the International Center, a lot of them, up in the Esplanade area, they're all they talk about workers' comp all the time.
Really? Wow.
And to be honest with you, I think that if I could look at the smaller businesses in Woodridge and Downers, they really they're living in relatively business-friendly areas from the local perspective. They're happy to be here. Business is good because they're catering to wonderful people in the communities, and I don't hear a lot of complaints. It always seems to elevate up to the state.
Okay.
If there's construction in front of their store, they're going to complain. If
that's
if the sidewalks on Ogden Avenue aren't shoveled, they call me in. The neighborhood watch calls me and tells me to go shovel them. The little things like that, but nothing big. Of course, we went through the whole sign ordinance thing, and I still hear a few complaints about that. But the businesses were given 7-8 years to get their sign in compliance, and I think there's a few still outstanding that's irritating a few people. But for the most part, I think that we do live in a business-friendly area, and county as well. Stormwater fee, I still hear complaints about, a lot of complaints.
But they'll all be happy by Friday. By Friday about 7 o'clock when the cars start rolling around, the car show.
Oh,
A lot of people down here will be
yeah,
happy
that doesn't
again.
fix the stormwater fee, though.
Well, no. But they'll be happy to make them sales. Then they won't be complaining.
That's right. You're right on. You're right on. And then farmers market is right around
That's
the corner.
right.
That's opening up, and everyone loves that.
Yes.
So,
And then it'll warm up and everybody will be happy.
I'll tell you, I've had a really good experience doing business in Downers.
Yeah.
Aside from just there's nothing I can do about whatever taxes I'm going to pay or, fees I'm going to pay to do business, because I'm going to do business in Downers. I grew up here. But just the other attorneys in town, it wasn't a competitive environment. It wasn't mean-spirited. Everybody was welcoming. In the chamber leads group that I first got into, there was another attorney in that group, and she embraced me with open arms to be in that group. She was a friend of mine beforehand, but everyone's got a friendly atmosphere, and the attorneys in town are more resources for me than they are competition, and that just seems to be the spirit in town. The people are good. The clients are good quality people. They're not. I don't want to use any words to offend you, but they're not. They don't have the noses up in the air.
Right.
It's just a good, middle class town
It's
to
a
do business in.
fantastic little city.
It
Yeah.
is.
I really hate
That
to
it
leave
is.
it. To be honest with you, I love this place, and I really hate leaving it. And where I'm going is going to be really cool for me, but I cannot emphasize to anybody that's listening to this how cool Downers Grove really, really is.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Wasn't it
is.
just voted like the number 2 place to raise a family in the world or something
Yeah,
like that?
I mean, the accolades go on and on and
Yeah.
on. And, I have to say that I think you, and I rarely do this just so you know, but I think you have really smart people running the town. From the staff, I think they're very, very bright and very well positioned and chosen for their jobs. And the council. And that ebbs and flows and it goes back and forth. But and my experience is anyone who's been elected has been, right on.
Yeah, and I'm pretty apolitical. I don't get involved because I'm going to be doing business here no matter who's in power. But Mayor Tully came by our speakeasy a couple weeks ago and took the time to actually see the place. And I talked to him for a couple hours and really impressed, really down to earth guy, someone that, I heard the guy he was running against is a great guy too. It seems like there's not a lot of cutthroat stuff going on. Now, maybe that's because I'm apolitical and I'm not. For those of you listening, Laura just rolled her eyes.
We all know better.
Yeah. Maybe I should just stay to the world I'm in.
Can I go on your planet?
Well, the other thing about Downers, and I know a lot of cities like the model, are trying to figure out how to get their stuff. And let's face it, a lot of cities love Naperville, right? They would just love to be in Naperville.
I guess.
But I
It's
think
kinda
Downers
big.
has a really, really good model
Oh,
for
yeah.
other cities to just
Absolutely.
pay attention. Please, just pay attention. Do what Downers is doing, and you'll be fine.
A lot of communities are doing just that.
Good.
Yeah.
So the last thing you mentioned that we haven't addressed yet is healthcare being an issue.
Yeah.
We did an episode on healthcare with Monica Kendall a little while ago. So if people need help navigating those waters, they can watch that episode and call Monica. But tell me a little bit about what you've heard about healthcare from business owners.
Well, now there's unfunded mandates are never a big thing with businesses ever. And, this seems to be one of them. If you have over so many employees, 52, I think it is. And I'm not up to date on the laws, but I feel like I've been fighting healthcare for all the years that I've been, a chamber representative. At one time, I was meeting with Senator Obama in D.C. in his office, and I asked him why he had voted 9 times against the association healthcare plans, which would allow chamber members to be a group.
Okay.
And there are some associations.
I got you.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Right. And whatever he said, I don't even remember. It was so long ago. But him and Durbin were the two. It passed 9 times in the House, and it was voted down 9 times in the Senate. And that has changed a little bit in the state of Illinois, and I think it's great that everyone has health care, obviously, and everyone is taken care of. But I think it could be I think it could be better, and I hope that it does get better.
It's such a hot button issue right now. I'm
It
not
is.
sure. I'm
It's-
not sure how that can get resolved.
Well, I'm on the PADS board, DuPage PADS board of directors. So this is how I justify it. I am now paying 4 times what I paid a month than I did before.
Mhm.
And so I figure, okay, I haven't been in the hospital for 33 years. I don't know, nothing's wrong with me. Knock on wood.
Yeah, good for you.
So I feel like that increase is kind of like my contribution to those who are less fortunate.
Mhm.
And that's how I justify it. Otherwise, I'll go crazy.
Well, and that's,
I mean, it's nuts. What I'm
that's
paying
what it
now
is.
is, someone my age, but that's how it is.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's a tough balance because when we mentioned this in the episode we did with Monica, but when I was thinking about starting my firm, I've got Crohn's disease, which is a chronic illness, and I wanted to start my own firm, but until Obamacare passed,
You are unable.
I was uninsurable. And so you want people with chronic illnesses to be able to start businesses.
Of course.
But on the flip side of that, when you talk about workers' comp, or when you talk about healthcare costs or payroll taxes, I look at what I'm paying my actual employees, what goes to them in their paychecks. We get through my payroll service, we get 2 withdrawals. One comes first, which is what I actually pay the employees,
right.
and then all the crap goes on the second
Yeah,
one. That's not even
yeah.
counting health insurance or workers' comp. And I could pay for 3 more employees
Right.
with all the extra taxes I'm paying.
Yeah.
So, people talk about wanting to have a business-friendly environment and create jobs. Well, it is there's only so many employees I can hire with my revenue where it is. And the more taxes you put on me as a business owner,
Mhm.
the less employees I can hire and the less people are out there in the economy.
Out working.
So,
right.
that's
And the concern is that businesses are, in fact, even though they've been born and raised in the state of Illinois, they are leaving the state.
Yes, they are.
They had 278,000 people left the state of Illinois in 2012, and it just keeps building
That's a scary
more
thing.
and more. That's more than Naperville.
yeah.
Think about that. It's a lot more than
That's
Naperville.
That's pretty. That's like Aurora and Naperville,
exactly.
basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't want to become,
those are big holes in
Detroit
the state.
around here.
Well,
That's-
we're not far behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the song about Cleveland, at least we're not Detroit. Well, someday we're going to have a song about Illinois.
Well, what do you, like I said, I hate to have problems
You can't.
without some sort of
You can't.
solutions.
There is no
What
solution.
needs to happen? Is it just people need to go out and vote and
Yeah.
change who's in power?
Yeah. And, I hear you saying that you're apolitical and
I have my political views. I just don't get personally involved.
right. So I hope that you do get involved with your vote.
Mhm.
I think that's the most important thing to do is to vote.
Mhm.
I write letters to legislators all the time. I wrote to the governor yesterday. And what I hear from legislators, which is why Chamber 630 always goes down to Springfield. We were going to try to do DC this year. I may do that next year as well. But they say if we hear from our constituents about an issue, get like maybe 5 letters or 5 emails, we think there's a catastrophe going on.
So there's that few people writing in.
It's that apathetic.
Right.
Wow.
So we are really depending on our legislators who have to vet 6,000 to 7,000 bills in a short session, January to, May, supposedly, which won't happen this year, I don't think. Think about that. Kevin, forgive me, but they're all lawyers writing these bills for the most part.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, going through that, they don't know everything.
Mhm.
They can't. We elected them, to make wise decisions, but I think that they all need our input.
So the lesson I'm taking away from this is stop being apolitical and stop whining and go get involved and try to make a change a little bit, because otherwise,
Well, don't
the state's not
complain
going
unless
right.
you've got a solution, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, since we're very good on creating issues or bringing up issues that have no good solutions, I got a question
There's
for
quite
you.
a few of them, aren't there?
When you're talking to the business people, what is their take on this minimum wage stuff?
Ooh.
And I'm only asking you because, one, I know you're a lady that is in the know. And you can't talk to every business owner out there. I talk to every business owner. It's such a fire infused comment or issue that I can never get a good answer from the business owner because they're so ticked off.
Well, first of all, minimum wage was never intended to support a family.
Yay.
That was never the intention.
You know, that's a conservative outlook.
Go look at history.
I know.
Look at the documents.
I know.
They're all public documents.
My first job, I was like $4 an hour. I never thought of.
I think mine was
raising-
$3.25.
we never thought about,
That being your career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
never an option.
And that's how it's being looked at now. And so the way I look at it is that I have to pay about between $1,000 and $1,500 more a year for an employee who's doing the exact same thing.
Which means less employees.
Of course,
Eventually it will.
So that's less employees. Now there is one company that is on the border. It's just on the southern part of DuPage County, a large company. They bring on about 300 temps, and then they filter in about a third of them into their permanent employment. So they bring them mostly in from Chicago. And now those people are looking to get that increased minimum wage that Chicago offers coming up this summer. And so they're just collecting unemployment until that kicks in. And they're not getting on the bus that this company is providing and driving into the city.
Into the city.
Yes. To
And
pick
we're not
them
talking
up.
the loop, right?
Oh, no.
We're talking parts of the city that people could really use that job.
Right. But they're waiting for that. And that's what they've been told. And they relayed that to me. And I thought that was a pretty sad scenario. Talk about an unlevel playing field.
Yeah. Well,
Talk about unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Well, of course, but that's what happens with our legislators. They create this stuff and
they
it's
pander
awful.
and.
But they need to hear the stories. And we're really fortunate locally, again, with our legislators around here. I think they're always asking for the stories. It's very, very easy to send in a brief story to a committee. If you know that a committee is, like for instance, labor relations are meeting, you can go online, pull up the hearing slip, and share something, whether you oppose or support the bill or whatever the case may be, and share a story. It takes 20 seconds. So it doesn't take that long to get involved. But you are a member of the chamber, and we do that for you. That's one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, to join. I know most people do it to connect with other businesses, which is also important.
So before we let you go, Laura, what are some of the best ways that people can make the most out of their chamber membership? Or some mistakes that you see new chamber members making and, wishing they'd done earlier in their business?
We have 700 members, and I tell the board this all the time. I think I have 700 reasons as to why they join the chamber. Everyone is different. We have businesses that just want to be in that publication that goes out to all the businesses in the area and the residents, the households. Some just want to be on the website, and we do provide website referrals, the list of website referrals, and they're thinking, wow, I wouldn't have had this exposure otherwise. And it's always interesting to see how many people actually map their location from our website. And that always blows our members away, because then those are people trying to find you specifically.
True.
And then, so that's that 24/7, aside from the legislative component. That's that 24/7 working for you component. And then as far as getting involved, I would always say jump in with both feet, and no matter what. The chamber staff is there to serve the membership. And I think they do a great job of it. I'm very fortunate with the people that I work with now. Referral groups are something that work. We know that they work. We've got 4 of them. We're always willing to open up a new one. They are non-competing businesses. So at times it's important to have to recognize that we have to start another one. And I'm always open to change. Chamber has to change every day.
Before I started getting involved in the chamber leads groups, I was kind of disengaged from the chamber. I'd go to lunch and I'd know maybe 1 or 2 people. If you're in a leads group with, 10 people that are also in the chamber, you can go anywhere in town and find someone and they can introduce you to people. So that's a really good way to get engaged. Going to the lunches is great too, but you've got to be a lot more out of your comfort zone. Tony, we've talked about this before. When you're standing in a room, cold, meeting people that you've never met before.
Right.
If you get involved in a leads group, then you'll know people at those events, and you'll know people at almost any event you go to in town. So I heavily endorse those. And the e-blast I had a good experience with too. We did for the launch party, we did a chamber e-blast, and it wasn't very expensive, and we were tracking our analytics on our website, and we got a good amount of clicks just from doing that. It was like $55 for a pretty good spread, and got a lot of traction with it. So it was a good way to advertise.
That's another big reason. We have several members that all they want to do is e-blast. We don't see them ever. And all they want to do, they just want to do e-blast.
Well, that's actually kind of smart.
We've got a great audience, and they're well read. I mean, our open rate is triple what the typical not-for-profit open rate is.
Oh.
So, and we track that also, just like you do. So,
well, and I don't put my chamber emails into the spam, and I'm not saying this because you're here, but because I want to know, what's going on in town and what the upcoming events are. So people actually, at least I read those, and I don't read a lot of my spammy sort of emails. So it's
we have a lot of programs that a lot of people don't realize that we have. The residential greeter program, a business greeter program. Some members are in just for that. We do certificates of origin, and that's for exporters.
Can you tell me what the residential and business greeter programs are? And if you've got to go, I know you're busy, so we've gone past our time.
Oh, no,
here,
I can keep talking all day long. But the residential greeter program is, I love it, but you do have to utilize it in the appropriate way to get your ROI out of it. Our members put a little trinket or a pamphlet or something in a box, and it's a pizza box. And I remember when I came to this chamber, because, other chambers have, they always had a welcome wagon type of lady who rang the doorbell. Well, that's just not realistic in this day and age because no one's home, pretty much. So they came up with a pizza box. And I remember they were paying like $5 a box or something. And I said, certainly we can get someone to donate the pizza box, and we can get them in the program. And so whatever. So we did, and the pizza company put in, bring this box in, and you get a free pizza. Well, every new resident to a town has to find their pizza place, right? They told me they get 100% rate of return, so they're very pleased. Aurelio's, just to pitch them.
That's actually one of my favorite pizza places in town. They're delicious.
And we now do the Woodridge residential greeter, and Aurelio's over there. It does the same.
Okay.
When I call to order a pizza from Aurelio's, they have to ask me, are you ordering from home, from the club, or from the office?
You have the long list of answers, right? Well, so we have businesses that put their tchotchkes, whatever they want, in there, and it gets mailed to their homes. And then we send the resident or the businesses, all those businesses, a list of everyone that we sent it to. And that's the key. They should follow it up with a coupon or, a letter or something. And the people who do that see a tremendous rate of return.
And you were talking about certificates of origin. What's that?
Those are companies that export to certain countries require that. And for some reason, these countries think a Chamber of Commerce is something that they're probably not in their country. So we give them our seal.
Okay.
Interesting.
Anything else you want to talk about before we let you go?
I think I'm good. Thank you.
If someone wants to join the chamber or has questions about joining the chamber, how can they reach you?
630, of course, 968-4050.
Okay. Well, thank you
Call
so
us
much.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for your time, Laura. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Laura.
Thank you
This was
both
great.
for having me.